Hello and welcome to Speak Out on Strangles, the Strangles Awareness Week podcast, which aims to give horse owners a real insight into preventing and managing the disease. Strangles is the world's most commonly diagnosed infectious disease in horses. Although cases can go from mild to malicious, it is extremely contagious and can have devastating consequences for people passionate about enjoying life with their horse. Strangles Awareness Week is supported across the equestrian industry in the UK and across the world, and it calls for more openness and support for people and premises affected by the disease. With these podcasts, we aim to inspire open conversations about strangles and what helps in taking us closer to eradicating the disease. I am your host, Gilly Rydett. I am the Campaigns Officer for Redwings Horse Sanctuary and the coordinator of Strangles Awareness Week. And in this episode, we hear from Ben and Danny, two eminent farriers in the UK, discussing the pressure that biosecurity can place on a farrier's business. Please don't forget to subscribe, whether you are listening on YouTube or on your podcast player, to get the heads up about future episodes, and more importantly, share them with your yard, coach or vet. Let's spread the word and not the disease. So today we will be hearing from a type of professional which you will find on nearly every yard in the country. Farriers are one of the cornerstones of our horse's health because, as the old saying goes, no foot, no horse. We are very lucky to have two outstanding members of the farrier profession here with us today. Benson is Master Farrier and the Vice President of the British Farrier and Blacksmith Association. Danny Bennett is also on the British Farrier and Blacksmith Association Craft Committee, and he won the Horse and Hound Farrier of the Year Award for 2020. Gentlemen, please take to the floor or mic and tell us a bit more about yourself.
She said your name first, Ben.
Oh, well, I was being polite. You're older.
No, I'm doing continuity. Go.
Right. Thank you very much. My name's Ben Benson. I'm a farrier in Banbury in Oxfordshire. I am one of 150 odd training farriers in the country. So I have apprentices which I send off to college and then they're in 4-year placement with me. I'm very fortunate. I've always worked with performance horses and I'm lucky to have worked at the last 2 Olympics and I'm going to be working out in Tokyo and I work for Team GB.
Hi, I'm Danny Bennett. I'm a remedial farrier based in the East Midlands. I'm also a educator, I have a lot to do with farrier education, and at the moment I'm the lead practical farriery lecturer at the School of Farriery, Hereford and Ludlow College.
Thank you. So why do you think that strangles and biosecurity is an important topic for farriers?
I think it's a very important topic because, you know, of all the equine professionals, we're probably visiting yards with more frequency and regularity than predominantly most of the other equine professionals. So we could contaminate from yard to yard. Obviously, the job we do, for want of a better word, we're very up close and personal with the horse, and obviously we carry a lot of equipment. So, you know, from our point of view, if our biosecurity is not on point, you know, we do run the risk of spreading it from yard to yard.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with Danny. Majority of my business is done within professional riders, professional yards. So we have a huge number of horses coming abroad from the continent and travelling and competing. And as Danny said, you know, when you're on yards and you've got horses that turn up, the ability, if you're not careful, to drop your guard and something's got a bit of a snotty nose or even something like a bit of ringworm, they're on them boxes that are travelling pretty much 24/7 and these horses jump on and off them like trains. So the ability to catch something from one end of the horse box to the other and then it gets dropped in your yard, then you've done something to it and then you go off to another 2 or 3 yards that day is quite considerable if you're not careful.
Do you think that the training for farriers is adequate? Because there's often a bit of a gap between training and the reality of the job.
Well, as a college lecturer, it is definitely, biosecurity is an element we do teach. Again, as Ben said earlier, obviously Ben's a training farrier, so he has apprentices. And again, going from yard to yard with their bosses, they will encounter times, it might not be strangles, but it could be ringworm or equine flu. There's a lot of diversity in the training they get. So they will spend 4 years going from yard to yard with their boss, and they will pick up on these skills. But certainly from the syllabus we teach, not only is there a bit on biosecurity, which one of my colleagues does teach them, they also, towards the end of their training, they have a lot of lectures from outside vets who come in, and one of the subjects they also teach is biosecurity and transmissible diseases.
I agree with Danny. I think the modern apprentice that is coming through now is far more broadened in their understanding of things like biosecurity, and so that the professionals that we're seeing coming through now, and the college courses that are being set up in our apprenticeship is phenomenal. I think perhaps our industry hasn't perhaps been at that level before. So we are seeing, there are a lot of farriers out there that are doing the best that they can, but they might not necessarily have that underpinning or understanding that's there. And certainly the other thing as well is, as farriers, most of them tend to work on their own. So they're not in practice and not alongside other organisations or bigger businesses where there might be a bit more perhaps continued development within the business. So a lot of farriers sort of tend to do what they know, like what they know, and know what they like, if you see. So sometimes they can end up sort of having a method of approach which we might know now actually you can do. So like with strangles, you can still go and work on horses with strangles. You just have to be very very careful and considerate in how you do that, and then how you go and move on to other yards afterwards.
I do find that with a lot of the farrier industry, and certainly the farrier community, it is quite a hot topic, and it's one they take very, very seriously. By refusing to go to a yard which has strangles or another infectious disease, you do run the risk, certainly nowadays, of the client phoning someone else up, so you lose a client. But if you do go, and you obviously follow the instructions of the yard owner who wants you to go onto the infected yard, or they haven't told you in due course, spreading it around your other clients, because the equine community is a small community, everyone knows each other's business, you run the risk of losing the rest of your clients. So it is, I think, certainly from a financial point of view, and the losses which could be incurred, farriers have always taken it very, very seriously. And especially, obviously in our modern history with the whole coronavirus thing, farriers were very, very strict on informing their guidelines to the horse owners. When we were lucky that we could carry on working. But then if we go back 10, 15, 20 years to like the times of the foot and mouth, farriers, again, when we were allowed to work, we were very, very savvy and very, very good on the whole biosecurity thing.
I agree with Danny there. As things evolve, we understand it a bit more. Unfortunately, with strangles, because there is such a big label that comes with it, that there's not just the actual the dealing with the disease that it is, but you're dealing with the emotion that comes with it, and that it's somehow like a dirty disease, like because you don't look after your horses well enough that they've developed it, when actually it doesn't work like that. And quite often there comes with strangles a real taboo, which a lot of owners feel that actually they can't talk about and they don't want to. So when you get there, it's kind of a last minute thing that they'll whisper at you as soon as you're out the van and look like you're about to go near the horse, and then you've then got the secret and you can't tell anyone, but you've got to find a way of communicating with that owner then how you're going to deal with this situation. And quite often than not, it's never the last drop of the day, it's always the one in the middle of the day, or when you're going to another yard afterwards. So you just don't have that ability to shoe the horse sometimes. But as Danny said, you feel bad then that you're having to say no, and then you're almost compounding that owner's emotion and stress levels to the point where they then feel like they've overstepped a mark, or that relationship has hit a point. So I think sometimes it's just about how well you communicate with your owners is how I've found that I can deal with it.
That sounds like a really being placed between a rock and a hard place there, because you don't want to lose the client and you don't want to upset them, but at the same time you have a duty of care to your other clients and you don't want to spread the disease. What would you advise a farrier on how to handle a situation like that when you arrive and the client just tells you that they have strangles on the yard?
I mean, for anyone who's ever been caught up in that situation, if you're already on that yard, then it's too late. You're there now. You're going to have to deal with it. And unfortunately, and it's never a great situation, but all you can do, again, depending how far away from home you are, well, you're there now. You may as well shoe the horse. But what you do after that, that's the problem. So you're either going to have to cancel the rest of your day and reschedule, which for us farriers would probably mean working on a Saturday morning, which none of us like. But from that point, after we've finished at that yard, it's a case of go home, decontaminate all your tools, and get your clothes in the washing machine and get in the shower. So that's kind of like, and if that's your first call of the day or any point of the morning, that's a whole day, or certainly a whole day's wage gone, and the whole day's ruined.
Yeah, for us, we're very fortunate that, again, we work on a lot of professional yards, so they generally have the loose box on the outside of the yard that the horses quarantine into, and a lot of the yard managers, because they understand the risk of what comes in. But certainly on perhaps some of our smaller, more sort of leisure horses, so generally when we're going to those yards, we're only doing 1s or 2s, so at least we haven't touched anything before we're told. We do carry a biosecurity bag in the van. One of our well-known Farrier supplies had a big push 18 months ago on biosecurity along with the Horse Trust, and gave out a biosecurity bag, which came with a boiler suit, some gloves, some disinfectant, and obviously with the coronavirus as it is at the moment, we carry disinfectant in the van anyway, disinfectant spray, and we wash our hands with soap and water after shoeing anyway, so we've got that disinfectant process in place with the current pandemic. So that's what we do. We pop the boiler suit on, whoever's going to touch that horse, no one else goes in that stable, all tools are washed off afterwards, hands etc. disinfected, and that's our protocol going forward.
Excellent. So you've described, a lot of things that farriers do to ensure that the biosecurity is respected, but what could clients do to make your life easier?
Probably just communicate. When the moment when something turns up, if we all talk about it and we're all aware of it, it's a lot easier and you can make a plan for it. So rather than we turn up and then, have to have a very difficult conversation, or even just an awkward conversation where you feel like by pointing out the obvious you're overstepping the mark, just being able to have that conversation with them over the phone, very confidential, and make a plan. So you're doing it at the end of the day when you haven't got any other horses to go to, so when you do disinfect everything, it's got time to soak in, etc., and just book your day accordingly so it has no impact on anyone else, so you can do the best job you can and take the time you need to.
And I think, again, moving away from like the competition yards, so to speak, but your average happy hacker, horse owner, GP, amateur rider, the thing you've got to ask yourselves as well when there is a strangles outbreak on that yard is, does my horse need shoeing today? Because very often we tend to work anything between a 4 to 8 week cycle. We work on an average of 6 because, let's face it, if everyone's on the same cycle, our workload is manageable. But in a lot of these cases, if they're just waiting back for results, going an extra week or even 2 weeks isn't going to be that detrimental to the horse's welfare. So it's making that judgment call. And again, if it is a full-blown and it's a confirmed case of strangles, and then, you ain't going to be going out competing for a short while, and you probably won't be exercising the horse. Can the farrier not just get in, get the shoes off, do a safety trim, and then once the horse has got the all clear, we can get back on track and get everything going properly again?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. If those horses are really showing clinical signs, then they're not going to be working. So 10 or 14 days isn't the end of the world.
No.
Yeah, it sounds like the key thing here is the communication between the farriers and the clients. But as you said, even though the equine world's a tight-knit community, people are quick to pick up the phone, when it comes to strangles, people don't want to be judged, they don't want to talk about it. And the last person they want to be judged by is the farrier, the physio, people who come on the yard. So they do tend to just keep it on the low, which makes everyone's life just a bit more difficult, really.
A lot of my own personal experience with strangles has come from my time in the British Army, because I was a serving British Army farrier for 14, 15 years. One of the biggest problems we had, and it was an annual occurrence, was each year we buy anything from 40 to 70 new horses from Ireland, and they come over, they get turned out straight away for the first few months, and it was almost like you could set your watch by it. We'd have a strangles outbreak every year around about the same time of year. Now, at Melton Mowbray, it's a very big yard. There's a lot of horses there. We've got a separate veterinary hospital, etc. But we had a separate line of stables we just used for when this happened, so we could get the horses in, quarantine them. They were far enough away from the other horses on the yard, so there was never any cross-contamination. And I think what goes in the Army's favour there is not only have we got the facilities to house that, but also all the soldiers are very highly trained, although it sounds daft, in nuclear, biological and chemical warfare, which a lot of that is all about decontamination, wearing the protective clothing. So we're quite adapted for working in them situations. And I don't know of a single case we ever had or an outbreak from our yard. It never went any further because the drills, the operating procedures and everything was so tight and so well practiced. Now, bearing in mind, a lot of the civilian staff who work there as well, they've all got their own horses at local livery yards. And I say, has there been an outbreak from our place out there, because everything was done, the communication was there, everyone knew to stay away. And like I say, it was all kept very contained. I think the problem we get outside of that is this, what we were just saying, is people not communicating, people almost ashamed of it and not speaking, you know. And I guess that goes on in all walks of life, but you know, we should be thinking about other people, you know. And I think, if anything, this current pandemic we've been going through is showing us that.
Yeah, absolutely mirror that. I mean, it goes on the same with the professional riders as well, where horses come over and they're slightly in denial about it. They've got a time lag, or they've sold this horse for X amount and they need it to be out, or the owner, you know, please don't tell the owner that this is going on. And like Danny said, sometimes it's just about being honest and straightforward. And certainly in strangles, I think you know, in my career so far, I would never have seen as many horses as Danny has, but certainly, you know, we probably see 5 or 6 episodes a year in different ways or shape or form.
And it's not like the farriers can enforce the consequences themselves, because you don't want to lose clients. At the end of the day, your whole job is based on your networking and your address book. So it's not like you can go up to someone and be like, nah, I'm not going to touch your yard for the next 2 months because you've had strangles on there and you didn't tell me. So it's a very difficult one.
I've seen more farriers now, I think, with the advent of, you know, social media and WhatsApp and things like that. We're all much more interconnected and aware of what's going on, whereas perhaps 15 or 20 years ago you only knew what you knew through the people you knew. So now, I'm in farrier WhatsApp groups in regions where, you know, farriers can ask for advice, but equally you do see on there farriers saying, just to let everyone know, there's, you know, I've got a bit of strangles in the area, or one of my yards, just the big livery yard, just to let everyone know going in there if you're not told something. But I think it's quite sad when farriers have to feel sort of guilty about doing that and looking out for each other. And like you said, we're such a small industry, we all realise now we've got to look out for each other. So that's the good thing now, is if there is something, like you said, just going back to the strangles thing, you know, and someone wants you to go there and it's all a bit suspect, then at least, or if you've been, you know, binned off because you've made a bit of a stand about, you know, not doing it in the middle of the day or the first drop of the day, you weren't going to do it, and your next available appointment is in a week's time, and the owner perhaps wanted it done a bit sooner, then at least you've got a chance to look out for someone else, so they don't end up overrunning and spreading that.
Do you think clients really realise how much strangles could impact you?
The thing is, nowadays we don't generally see many horses die from strangles. We don't see many horses really, really, really ill. So people don't ever see the consequence of what that could be, or the damage that can come behind it. What they don't see, like Danny said, is the social and the financial consequence as a professional of me taking that on to 3 or 4 other yards. And, you know, even the vet bill treating that strangles case could run into hundreds of pounds depending on how the horse copes and is able to tolerate it. So if I was to take that to 3 or 4 other yards quite easily in that day, and then maybe even, I don't know, but maybe even the next day, you know, there's still the ability for me to infect something. You know, the number of horses that could go through quite easily, I could easily spread to 50 or 100 horses.
Well, I mean, the thing with that as well, it's not even if those horses caught it. If word gets out and we do the right things as professionals, which I'm sure most of us will, is inform all those people we came into contact with afterwards, then they need to get testing themselves. Who pays for that? They pay for it themselves. We've kind of caused it, but it's only because we weren't informed. So that person with the one strangles case, you know, that's quite a lot of fallout from just not being upfront about it.
Yeah. And then you deal with the emotion of the other yards then finding that out that they needlessly have caught this. So then that puts them into a sense of spin and lockdown and the emotion that comes with it. So for an owner, and I do understand, you know, the stress of having a horse with it, but for them to not necessarily be upfront with you, or even tell you as quickly as perhaps they've found out, you know, when people realise how little it actually has to impact you if you do it in the right way, and how positively you can deal with something that's such a negative, I think, you know, people could stamp it out quite quickly, you know, even just from their yard. I know certain regions tend to have it, perhaps more, but certainly, you know, when we, like all the Olympic Games or any of the big competitions that I've gone and worked at, you know, their biosecurity with, like, you know, disinfectant mats. If you go in and out of that stable block, you wash your hands. Don't touch horses when you're on that yard. You know, and don't touch anyone else's horses. If yards were to adopt simple policies like that, they might even find that they keep the strangles on one side of it and might not take it into other barns or other horses.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier about the time, obviously biosecurity in the army, where we kept those horses confirmed cases of strangles was only probably 20 metres away on the other side of the cordon from actual normal stabled horses. And like I say, it never transmitted between the two because like I say, it was all open, the communication was right, and the protocols were all correct. So, you know, I think it just pays to be 100% honest.
It's so, I mean, how we've talked a little bit of, you know, farriers now being more trained in soft skills and how clients could listen more to their farrier, but how do you think we could get, you know, clients and farriers on the same page when it comes to general things but also biosecurity?
I think, you know, the way, obviously, the one thing we've got in our favour now as an equine profession, I mean, this isn't just about farriers. I mean, you know, with social media, it's so easy now to educate people and start campaigns and just public awareness. And I think that's the only way to do it is by making people aware. And I certainly think that could be a way forward.
I think making clients or horse owners aware of how much it could cost. You know, people make their decision on what's it going to cost me, what's the effect on me as a person. So having that bit of, you know, well, your vet bill could end up being this, you know, your horse could ultimately die, your yard could be shut down, you know, or, you know, and the treatment could cost this much if it goes on. Whereas actually, like I said, if you've got it in on the yard, then you all start washing your hands, you all, you know, do these disinfectant biosecurity processes, and then it gets a lot cheaper. I think doing it in a way which doesn't rub people up the wrong way.
It's often a case of, if it hasn't happened to me,
Yeah.
then I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it's only when you have a case on the yard
Yeah.
or you have an outbreak in the area that you realise, oh God, I should have done all that preventive work. And one thing we try and explain to people, because biosecurity sounds scary, it's a big scary word, and people often think that it's associated with very high costs.
Yeah.
And if it's done right, it's not. I mean, you know, a hand disinfectant and a boot bath
Yep.
doesn't cost so much, and in the end it's preventing you having to pay massive vet bills.
Yep.
So it is a thing where people are on a shoestring budget, which a lot of us are, and currently in the world we live in, a lot of us our budgets for hobbies for horses has been considerably reduced.
Yep.
I think we need to understand that small measures that are recommended by experts, it's there to save you money. It's there to help you on the long run.
To a lot of owners, cost is a huge thing.
Yeah.
But prehab's cheaper than rehab. You know, dealing with things at the start is always going to be an easier one.
Definitely need to work together. I think if we are the takeaway points from this is that communication is absolutely crucial if we are going to get anywhere with at least limiting strangles, if not eradicating it.
Yeah, I think probably the hardest part is understanding. You know, we've seen it at the moment, and certainly in the farrier community, we're trying to encourage farriers to not be afraid to talk about it. But certainly, the more that you can help your farrier, and the more that you can be honest up front and be happy to discuss things with him, the better he'll do. And so, communication, the better and more open and more of it you have, the better you'll get.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for both coming on today and sharing all of this incredible knowledge and advice. I think we've definitely will be coming away from this a lot more informed and a lot more enlightened than we came in. So thank you so much, guys. It's been a real pleasure.
You're welcome, not a problem. Thank you very much for
Thank you
inviting
very
us.
much.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Follow the Strangles Awareness Week Facebook page for more information about strangles and the campaign. Or if you have any further questions, leave a comment or get in touch with us by emailing campaigns@redwings.co.uk. We will see you tomorrow for a next episode, available on YouTube or on your podcast player. Let's spread the word and not the disease.